right, so well, thank you, Mark, for the intro, and thanks, Andrew and Christian, for the lead into this conversation. We're excited to be talking about platform today, and Peter and I have been working on this for a very long time. So specifically, this area of helping people leverage the platform to grow their content business. And for anybody here who is a training company, a content provider, an expert, or a thought leader, this is right in your wheelhouse. But if you are a corporation, a corporate learning and development department, like our friends from Brinks, they're using and implementing a lot of the same tactics here to grow and scale their learning program on Rockstar Learning. So you're going to get lots of great takeaways. We're going to do this a little bit more workshop style. So we're going to get in and show you how to do some of these things in the platform, and it should be a lot of fun. So basically, we got a little bit of an intro there. We know what Pete's first concert was in the Heady Topper. So anyone knows, I live in just outside of Burlington, Vermont, and Heady Topper is known around these parts as the #1 double IPA in the country. So that's what a Heady Topper is. My name is John Tota. I'm the creator of the Rockstar Learning Platform. Our company, previous company, was Getchell. It was acquired by eLearning Brothers almost 2 years ago. And the platform that we had created years ago and developed over a long period of time became Rockstar Learning. And now I serve as a Rockstar Learning evangelist, really working with our team and with customers on how to get the most value out of the platform, how to build a better learning experience, using all of the tools that you have at your disposal now at eLearning Brothers. Pete, I'll let you, I think a lot of these people probably know you already, but why don't you go ahead and give your intro?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Pete Getchell. I am a senior enterprise account exec at eLearning Brothers, and really become a Rockstar Learning solutions architect. I've been working with our corporate and speaker, thought leader, expert training departments on delivering their platforms into their audiences for the better part of 15 years now. So very intimate with the platform. I've seen it implemented in many different ways, so I have a lot of experiences and things to share about that process.
And without further ado, we'll jump right into the content here. So, we've been talking about this topic in a lot of different ways, but it's really come more and more into view now in these COVID times that we've all been living through. And we've been doing a lot of presentations, as Christian mentioned earlier. He and I have done a number of presentations about building an agile learning model, really developing better virtual onboarding programs and things like that. But if everybody remembers, right, there was a time pre-COVID when our classrooms, corporate classrooms, all looked like this. And obviously we all lived through the new normal over the last year and a half or so, where we were just doing Zoom meetings like this for virtually everything. And we're still doing that, obviously, with virtual events like this. But today, as we're starting to see that we've kind of seen the value of working remotely and developing teams remotely, and how you can orient people and develop them without everybody being in a room together. And so even though we may come out of the pandemic times at some point, I think we've all seen the light that we can have a better learning model. And it's not just e-learning and classroom training, but now it's just learning. It's a better learning experience. And so what you see here is kind of what we think will be the future to some extent, is that you will have people who are going to be sitting in a classroom live at times, and then you're always going to have people logging in virtually. And so what this has really created is an increased demand for all types of online training content. In this new normal that we're going to live in, this hybrid future, it requires a lot of on-demand content. And that's what eLearning Brothers has done a tremendous job of, is just putting the right tools together, providing the right assets for everybody to build better learning content in all the different shapes and sizes. And then, of course, with Rockstar Learning, we have a platform that can house it all, track it and deliver it in a way that's really very user-friendly for everybody, and a great experience all around. So when we talk about this, really about turning knowledge into a business, this really applies in a lot of cases to content providers and to training companies and people who can productize their expertise. But if you are a subject matter expert inside of your own organization, and we work with a lot of organizations that are trying to leverage their internal talent, You might even be looking at, how do I productize the expertise in my own company? How do I turn those into learning assets that I can use throughout the entire organization? We always talk about scaling with enterprises, and that's this idea of giving a unique look and feel to each customer, client, division of the company. I think you heard Brinks mention that earlier, about one of the greatest things about their implementation on Rockstar Learning was this ability to brand, put banners on, and branding on an instance of their Rockstar Learning site to really give them that custom feel. And what we know with all learning programs, whether you're doing it for a corporation or you're selling it to a company, you either get adoption or that's it. That's the end of the road for a particular learning program. Either your budget has to go somewhere else or you lose that customer account. So all of this is about, how do you productize that expertise, scale it with your largest customers or your largest divisions, and then really put a situation in place where you can get good adoption with all of your people. And this is because learning priorities have shifted. This is from the LinkedIn Workplace Learning Study from just this past year. Upskilling and reskilling, hugely important, because it's becoming harder and harder to hire talent. So the goal is to upskill and reskill your own people. That obviously requires a whole new category of content. Leadership and management has always been important, but it's even more so now because we're doing it virtually. And of course, virtual onboarding, that's dropped off a little bit in this recent study. It was higher in 2020, but it's still one of the top and most important priorities. So for all of us who are building content offerings, a lot of this is about, how do we create our content offerings and our delivery styles to fit these new priorities.
Cool.
Pete, why don't you take us through this?
Yeah, let's do. Let's get to know our audience a little bit. We're gonna throw up a poll, a little different style this way, but I want to know, and John and I want to know, what do you offer from content? Like, what types of training are you providing? So if you would take your phone out, just scan that QR code right on that screen. It's going to take you to a website, which is going to have some questions on there. One in particular: what type of content do you sell? Or maybe what type of content, what's that intellectual property, that subject matter expertise that you produce at your company or at your training company, or whatever it is, that IP that you're developing. If you click that link, it takes you from your phone over to a Mentimeter, very interactive kind of data capture system. It's going to capture all that data and start to populate it here. Wow, it's changed quite a bit. What type of content do you sell? And it's going to keep updating as people start submitting.
And so if you didn't get to scan that QR code with your phone and hit it from there, right at the top there, you can just go to menti.com and type in that code 6798-6133, and then you can just vote right on your computer. Also, this is really fun because the word cloud is great. It instantly updates as we're doing this, and you start to get an idea of what types of content categories everybody's dealing with. Any insights here, Pete, as you see the words coming in?
I see it's a whole wide range of different things, from corporate education type of topics, sales skills, safety skills, safety training. Health and safety has been a big topic of late in different organizations. Nursing education, awesome. So yeah, a nice wide variety, and keeps growing, it appears. Everything people train on. That's great.
And yet, I think what you see too is there's always going to be the standard categories that people need. Everything. Someone put in everything.
Customer service, leadership, yeah, the norm.
But of course, those real specific categories too, like law enforcement and nursing. There's a need in the market for all of it. The wide general libraries of content that we always see, but then also these very hyper-focused specific libraries. And wherever you fit in the marketplace, it's good to see just kind of generally what people are looking for. So I'm going to jump back to our presentation, and we'll do another one of those polls shortly after. And of course, we can make that content available. The results of these, if anybody wants it, we can make those available afterwards. So really what we talk about a lot, and I've done a presentation similar to this one, really talking about the new skill sets that people are going to need. And this has been very interesting to see how this has changed over the last year and a half, 2 years. And I think this study was done just less than 6 months ago. So what you see here is resilience and adaptability. I think we all know we're dealing with challenging times. And so resilience and adaptability and the ability to provide learning programs that help people develop those skill sets is hugely important now. Digital fluency and technology skills, not a huge surprise, because we know that now you're moving into an era where you've got to have more technical skill sets and virtual learning and all of that. So that's right up at the top. Remote communication, of course, emotional intelligence, you're seeing more and more of a need for now, and cross-functional collaboration, because we're collaborating across the board with so many different areas. So Pete, I'll hand this over to you. We'll do one more quick poll because we love to hear from the audience and kind of know more about how you're looking at the market and interacting with it. So Pete, we'll jump back into one of these. Oh, you're muted.
I knew I was going to get me one of those times. The word of 2021. Take out your phone again, take a little scan. This time I'm curious to know, like, how are people delivering your content? There's a lot of different options for delivering your content, whether it is, you know, in an LMS of some sort, whether you're leveraging it in just, you know, handing over SCORM packages or XAPI packages, maybe just directly on your website, integrated to a client site. There's an option on there, or just packaging it up, which, you know, we hate to see, but package up that IP on a hard drive and just give it to a customer. Lots of different ways to deliver. I'm just curious, you know, what ways are you mostly delivering your intellectual property or learning content out there? So I'm curious to see the results and see the range we have.
Oh,
yeah. A lot of LMS. A lot of SCORM content. I'm guessing maybe a lot of SCORM content in the LMS or just, you know, external packages. But I'm glad to see nobody's just handing it over in a hard drive.
Hey, that's impressive. That's a good insight.
Yeah.
Someone's done their job in this industry, because we don't have people giving away content on hard drives. So yeah, at least we're getting better. So I hope no one votes for that now after we just said that. We'll see one come up. But yeah, this is really cool to see, because obviously, and I think, Peter, what's really interesting here, and for everyone's probably seen this too, SCORM doesn't go away, right? Like, it's an older standard, obviously, than XAPI, but because it's such a reliable standard, because everybody knows it, and because everybody is compliant with it and knows how to handle SCORM, it's still, you know, right up there at the top, and XAPI just hasn't quite caught up, at least with, you know, the people that we're talking to today. But it is interesting, Pete, like, to see how many people, you know, depend on your LMS. You know, like, people love to knock LMSs, and I'm an LMS, you know, person at heart. So I always, that always hurts me. But the LMS is truly important, and your platform is important, and that's what we're talking about now. So great to see that so many people do depend on their platform like they always do.
Very nice.
So as we flip back here, this kind of talks a little bit about delivery. This is a concept that Pete and I have been working together for a long time. So, you know, Pete and I talk about this as just kind of an easy way for people to understand. There's two different ways to package and deliver content to people. And when we talk about it in this analogy of a strip mall versus a shopping mall. And how do you want to look to your customers or to your users and learners out there? A strip mall is convenience above all else, right? We all know strip malls, we see them all, you know, all across the US and in other countries, I'm sure, as well. But the idea is that they're always near a large roadway, highway, an easy access point. It's quick and easy to get to. There's no large universal entryway. You just walk right into the door, the one specific door that you need to go to. It's on demand, and it's typically cheap. It's an inexpensive solution. It's really convenience above all else. And this is the way some people design their learning programs. And this is the priority for either you delivering the program or your learners and customers on the other end who are consuming it. Then there's this other model, which we prefer, the shopping mall, which we all know, the large, the Class A shopping malls that you see all across the country. where experience, that shopper experience, is above all else the most important thing. And so when we talk about what do you want your learning program you're offering to look and feel like, do you want it to be, the cheap, easy, convenient solution with a low barrier of entry, or do you want to really provide that better learner experience? Want to provide something that feels more custom, more unique to your individual divisions, partners, customers, whoever it might be. Security becomes very important. What are those access points? Is it single sign-on? Is it some type of secure entry point that isn't open to the public by just a standard login? Makes it feel a little bit more exclusive and fully integrated into everything else they do. So, when you have your anchor tenants at a shopping mall, they have their own unique feel. They have their own experience there that's above all else that they would get in a strip mall or something of that nature. So when you think about it, it's just really this idea of looking at your learning program and deciding what's more important to you. Not that one is right or wrong. We, really focus on learning experience here at eLearning Brothers. So we feel like we like to help people give this better, more custom experience. And now we're going to jump into that experience component of it, the workshop aspect of our presentation today, where Peter and I are going to jump into some actual samples and show you how people are delivering what we like to call Rockstar offerings. So, the award to Brinks earlier is a great example of that. Of just people who are taking it to the next level and providing a more custom, unique experience for their learners. But also, we're talking about how do you promote and sell your program to a customer, to your clients, wherever they may be, your partners. But also, in some respect, we have to sell our programs to our own internal divisions. If we're at a large corporation, we've got to get buy-in from all these different stakeholders, and we need to make sure that the business areas see the value, even though sometimes they're siloed in a large corporation. And so when we talk about selling it, you can also think about this as promoting your program, making sure you're getting adoption and showing value to all those different departments. So sell by office, we're going to talk about that first. That's really kind of giving accountability at the office level. Sell by enterprise, that's really going one step further of getting that unique branded experience, a white labeled experience to a partner or a customer of yours. And then selling by community, which is the latest and greatest of what we offer in Rockstar Learning, which is really allowing people to have their own community, their own control to manage some of their content, but then you're publishing content into it. Really, probably one of a kind in the industry. So that's something that we'll spend some time on. And so let's jump into it. This first example, Rockstar Learning by Office, the best way to show this is right from the sales page, how they package it and sell it to their individual, in this case, customers that are coming to their website and signing up for the program, or through their partners who are offering it. So I'm going to click in here. Let me just see that I get jump over here. Pete, why don't you talk a little bit about this solution? Obviously, you work the closest with all of our Rockstar Learning customers over the years. Tell us a little bit about this model and why packaging by a product by office and even selling it in this way is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you touched on the key word, accountability. Making people accountable for delivering and taking that training. And we're looking at it here from the aspect of a marketing page, a sales page, and letting people purchase, whether it's an individual, but we're more into the enterprise sales. So buying bundles of learner access to the system. Now, again, while we're selling it, monetizing it, and this money's going into the bank account to be, to prove as revenue, it's the same strategies are implemented in corporate education for different departments and so forth. So you're seeing the office in here where I am now able to buy bundles of 25 up to, as many as you want to set up on these sales pages. And these sales pages can be set up on Rockstar Learning, or they can be set up anyone that you're leveraging. This one, I believe, a client set up on ClickFunnels or something like that. We have Zapier integrations that tie it into the platform. But the goal is sell a bundle to a company, an organization, and you're going to give them what are called office administration rights. And those office administration rights are great because you can let people do certain things as an office administrator. Now, when you set up, your company administration or enterprise, you have the ability to set up these offices. So you can deploy different companies as offices. You can deploy different segments of users as offices. But the nice thing is you can actually set an office cap and say, hey, I only want to allow Acme Company to have 35 users. So you could sell them a license for 35 users and ensure that they're not going to go over and get more learners than they're supposed to. So it keeps them accountable to, hey, I can only gain access to this and you're not losing money on licensing fees. So creating the office is one thing. And then the benefit of that is you can hand over administrative rights to the person that purchased the 25 seats or the 50 seats or the 100 seats. And with that office administration rights, they get the ability to do their own reporting. So track how their learners are doing, the accountability of, hey, who's completing it, taking what. They can have the ability to add their own users. So they're an office administrator, they can add their own users. So one thing you're taking off of the content expert or the training administrator is, I don't have to administer those users anymore. They're capped out at 35. The office administrator can go in and say, all right, you guys, I'm going to create my user account. So they're going to invite, add, or import their list and gain access, provide access to all of their users in their organization. So it just took the administrative burden off of the content owner or the L&D professional. The other thing you can do is let them do their course enrollment. So they can push out enrollments, set due dates, all that fun stuff around the content that they're licensing, because this just became, while it was a content sale, they're buying all that intellectual property, that great training content. It's a little bit of technology sale as well as a value add to do their own reporting, user management, and course enrollment. So it's a great way to deliver it, from the platform that way.
Thanks, Pete. So I'm gonna jump out of here, go back to our presentation, and so along those lines, like Peter said, really accountability is so important. And so one of the things that's very easy to do in Rockstar Learning is exactly that. However you look at your population, is to create offices for your specific groups of users, put a cap out there, and then allow them to add the users, manage reporting, pretty much do everything from an admin perspective other than uploading their own content and managing it. So you're kind of taking the hardest part. For a lot of people, the hardest part is building a library of content and managing it. You take that out of the equation, but give them the best parts of the LMS, which is the ability to add and remove users on their own, enroll them in training, and run reports, which if you think about it, for most of your either business divisions or customers out there, that's 80%, 90% of what they end up doing in the platform anyway. So thanks, Pete. So now the second example here is Rockstar Learning by Enterprises. And when we talk about that, it's a feature we have in the platform called an Enterprise ID. And it allows you to then go one step further than just the office management capability and the accountability of adding and managing your users and reporting on them, but then also to give you this branded experience, as you can see on the screen. So Pete, I'm going to jump in here and show exactly how you do this, like the one we have on the screen here. And you can talk a little bit about the value of this and where you're seeing people really apply this in real world situations.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this is one of the things that Brinks, prior to this call, was talking about, that they're leveraging so well with, different countries or different sub-orgs inside of Brinks as a whole. But we're seeing a lot of content providers, thought leaders, experts, training departments who are delivering a full enterprise. And there's a lot of value in enterprises. It allows people that are monetizing to really charge a premium for this service, because they're getting a lot more than just office administrator rights. When you add an enterprise into the system, you're basically giving them their own sub portal, their own experience of training. So you get branding from a look and feel perspective. You can make it look like a sub organization of their own environment at their company. So they're going to be able to control things like the URL of the site, the logo, the banner, the color schemes, everything down to who the email addresses come from, who the compliance agreement windows, how they're messaged and things like that. And what's nice is you can turn on and off. We have a lot of features inside the Rockstar platform, but not all of them fit for different enterprises. So you can turn on and off certain things. you're really crafting this really custom white labeled suborg for your customers when you're delivering it on an enterprise admin rights. What's also nice with this is you get enterprise admin control, similar to Office, but you have 2 levels of suborg now. You have the enterprise that can do the same reporting, user management, and course enrollments for the overall org like this balance point. But then you can have suborgs in there called offices and do the same level as well. So you're providing them 2 levels of corporate hierarchy, but a very much personalized experience for their users to come in. And it also opens up the option for integration. If I want to do a single sign-on SSO integration from my internal HRIS system or my corporate LMS and bring people into here, no problem. You can do a single sign-on integration from their identity provider into here. In that case, typically we get asked to be like the technology partner in that. So we are facilitating the integration with your customers, being your technology partner to facilitate that integration and really make it look like a really strong, polished premium offering, and like you're seeing here from the balance point perspective.
So thanks, Pete, for going through that. And so, yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward what that white labeled approach does. And I think what Peter said was spot on, is that it's a way for you also to be able to justify a larger budget for what you're providing, because it is a more custom experience and really branded in so many different ways for the customer, the division of yours or partner. And then the last piece, Rockstar Learning by Community. And this is, as I mentioned before, kind of the latest and greatest feature we have in the platform called subscriptions. And a lot of people think about marketplaces, and a lot of platforms out there promote all of the different marketplaces that or providers they have in their marketplace. And as you can see, we've done similar things with Biz Library and Open Sesame and Trilliant. But even more importantly for us was we wanted to facilitate this model where our own platform users, the people who are using Rockstar Learning to build their own program and deliver it to their customers and partners, that they could use this subscription capability, this publishing capability, to push content from one community into another. So that opens up all types of opportunities. Pete's going to talk about a couple custom solutions that he's facilitated with this, but for a content provider, that's your way of saying, hey, you can have your own Rockstar Learning site that you manage everything. You manage your own users. You can do your own single sign-on there. You can have all of your own content and manage it fully, but then you can leverage my library that I can activate through the publisher capability right into a subscriptions panel. So your users would have your own, or your partners, your customers would have their own library in here where it's their content they're uploading, but that they can also draw from these wide libraries available in subscriptions. So while we offer large aggregate libraries in there, like our own course library and biz library and the others, this is also a great way for a content provider or any platform user to be able to push content community to community. So Pete, I'm going to jump in here and show exactly how we do it. You could talk a little bit about that, and then talk about some of the unique ways that our customers are using this functionality right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So from a community perspective, this has really solved a lot of needs for communities that want to, like we looked at offices and enterprises. They have the ability to report, do user management, and do enrollments. But the company that they're delivering to could not upload content. So that's where community really comes in, where you could have, I've seen it rolled out with associations who want to decentralize the training and let chapters do it across the world. I've seen corporations who want to, let different areas of the organization want to push out content across all of them. Even software providers who, again, they have their own set of training that they're training on, but they want their customers also want to load their own content in. So what you're really deploying here is more of like a parent-child type of site. The site that has the library management or publisher capabilities is able to push out the content to their child sites. So they're basically subscribing, like you saw in that slide John had up earlier, with all the different libraries like Biz Library, HPN Play, whatever the subject matter expertise is. And it's a great solution for content experts who have content that they want to monetize and sell into organizations. So if the organization is on Rockstar Learning, the subject matter experts on Rockstar Learning, you could basically publish your library of content into any other Rockstar LMS platform user and give them access to all of your courses, or maybe just a subset of courses. It's a great, easy way to push that content out. And then the owner of that site, that child site, still has the ability to load in their own content. So they're going to augment what they're doing at their local company or their local organization, and then augment the best of breed published content in their subscription inside of their platform as well. So it gives them the best of both worlds. Leverage a curated best of breed content library, but also give them the ability to load their own content.
Yeah, and so to add on that, what you're kind of seeing me do on screen right now is this is a publishing connection that's already in place. So as you can see, I'm in this demo site, or Rockstar Learning demo site, and as you can see when I went back here, and I'll just go back to my subscriptions, you can see the different subscription providers I have access to. So one might be the eLearning Brothers course library, where we have a lot of different content available for people to subscribe to, whether it's cybersecurity or the sales system, professional soft skills, or a provider, as we were talking about, in this case, one of our large subscriber sites, Hoopus Performance Network, has an HPM Play program, which is essentially portable content that you can subscribe to and add to your own library. So what's really nice about this, and this is what makes it work so well, as you can see, I've got access to a certain number of categories of content. As you can see here, this is the library on the HPM Play site. So basically, I create this library for my customer, in this case, the ELB demo site, and then I drop these categories of content in here that are available to the customer or the child site, like Peter mentioned earlier. Then when you go in here under that category, those content categories are available to me, individual items, modules of content that I can then go and drop into any one of my categories here. And so what's really nice, and this is what's kind of different, usually when you look at a marketplace, it's kind of an all or nothing. You get everything. And when you're in it, you're looking at that content, but you're not seeing your own stuff in and around it. What this allows you to do is to take content from a provider and mix it in and around your own content. So now I'm building a custom course on my side that's leveraging both my own content from my library as well as subscription content from any number of providers. So if you start to think about that, there's a huge amount of applications for this between different communities, and the ability to publish from one site into another. If you're a content provider, it opens up this huge opportunity that you could allow a customer to really build their entire environment and then augment their training with your learning program in a very flexible way, like you're seeing here. So just something we're really excited about. We think it opens up a new opportunity that's very different from the way that people typically sell online content or deliver it to their partners. And so that's subscriptions. And again, we'll have some time for questions at the end, because this is obviously something that a lot of people have probably seen for the first time. So Pete, why don't you talk about this? As we've shown the 3 different ways that people can practically position, one of the important things is why learning and development and all these training programs are so important. Can you talk to this slide a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is some great information from LinkedIn Learning 2021. We are the change makers. I think, when you look at COVID and the impact of the pandemic, a lot of these figures are going to rise. L&D is positioned for an impact. It's never more important than it is now to deliver L&D training to the organization or your customers. 2/3 of it says 2/3 of L&D professionals say their department is focused on rebuilding or reshaping the organization this year. I'm sure that number will even grow more, but it's also the same 2/3 on the other side. 2/3 of L&D professionals agree that it's shifted from a nice to have to a need to have. It's never more important than it is now, with everyone being so detached and remote. You'll see that number probably in 2022 be upwards of 80% probably. So it's making, the fact that content is king. It's going to be more important than ever to deliver valuable content to your audiences for sure.
Yeah, and Pete, I think you and I know this because we've been doing this for probably close to 2 decades now. And when you first got started in the learning management system space, and everybody can remember this, there was a time when, like, if you got 30% of an organization's learners to actually log in and access content, that was the goal. That was like a benchmark that we were all trying to hit. And 10 or 15 years ago, it was amazing if you could get a third of a company's people to actually log in and look at it. But the reality is today, those kind of results, 30% adoption, could very likely get you fired as a content provider, or or lose your budget because you're just not getting enough effectiveness out of your library. Because today, as Pete was saying, the online component of a learning and development program is critically important. And so what used to be 30% adoption, now they want 80%, 85% adoption, if not 100%. So this really brings us to this concept as a content provider or someone who is having to justify the budget that they have to build a learning program. We always talk with our customers about how do you build a better business case? And this really touches on this concept that first and foremost, you need to establish the right KPIs for your client, for your department, for the partner that you're dealing with. What are the key performance indicators that are really the most critical, the highest priorities for them? It's not the same for everyone. Back in the day, I know for us, it was 1,500 views a week, and views are really important. But today, views, you get lots of logins, you get lots of views because people look at everything online. But now you want to see that they're actually becoming proficient in skill sets, that they're able to put those learnings into practice. So the KPIs change, and they change over time for everyone. You need to implement business intelligence tools and surveys, and we're going to show you 2 examples of those in our final piece here. But BI tools are important. How do you slice and dice the data and really understand where you're getting traction and where you're not? And then really depending on the users to give you their feedback, survey them throughout the training. Christian mentioned this in the introduction earlier. Proof of concepts, we're huge advocates of that. Running pilots, quick pilots, immediate pilots to get early adoption, to prove out your business case, to show to your stakeholders that this is going to work and there's less risk involved. We love the idea to pilot quickly, get data, build the business case around it. And then finally, optimizing and building your case based on that data. So really pulling it all together and showcasing that both the pros and cons, the things that are going well and the things that are not going well that need to be improved on, but really facing up to that in a business case on a quarterly, annual basis, and showing how the budget's really being spent. So the one quick thing that we'll show in the platform here, because it's a really cool feature of Rockstar Learning, and we hope that everybody knows about it and that they've seen it or they're using it, are learner activities. And Pete, we'll just jump into this quickly because you'll be able to maybe talk to everybody quickly about how you can use learner activities to capture that user feedback almost instantaneously from your learners.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great tool, something super easy to add on the back end to any module in the system that'll allow you to add some questions and answers, capture some real world evidence of things that are happening inside the organization or out in the field, depending how you're using it. It's a simple toggle on the back end that allows you to add learner activities in the form of, there's about 8 or 10 different ones: multiple choice, true, false, rating, short answer. But what's cool is all of that data that you're capturing real time while they're watching the video is all captured in that learner activity and then reported on that learner's transcript on the back end. So if they're uploading some evidence that they've completed something, or maybe they're uploading a certification module or course that they've taken externally that you want to track on their user profile, just insert it in as a learner activity like here. And now that is tied to their transcript at all times. I've seen it used well on video modules, PDF modules like this to capture some of that evidence. I've seen it on events and in-person and virtual events that you can have in the system as pre-event questionnaires. Ask them some questions, capture some data from them all before they come to an event or attend an event, so you can gain some knowledge and kind of maybe craft your presentation around that. So lots of value in there, but it's really great to capture, even observation checklists of things that are happening in the organization or in the field of delivering your training.
Thanks, Pete. And the last thing I will just show you here, and it just kind of takes it to the next level, because we talked about business intelligence reporting. And obviously we do a lot of integration for our Rockstar Learning customers on this as well. But like Pete said, you can get a lot of that quantitative and qualitative data right from your learners. And then you can also implement business intelligence reporting like this. This is a tool called grow.com that we integrate to Rockstar Learning. But you can also use Gecko boards. You can use Microsoft Analytics.
Yeah.
You can really tie in any one of these business intelligence tools. But the idea here is that you can create specific KPIs for one of your customers, one of your departments, or for your entire organization. So like in this case, my KPIs are real-time users, real-time video usage, average logins per users, percent of course completion. So this data is pulling, like in this case, it pulled 18 minutes ago. So it's pulling into these reports real time from the system and just giving you a deeper dive, a more visual trend report and intelligence into how your platform's being used. And again, it's different for everyone. If you look at a different business intelligence report, in this case, completions by day are the KPI. It's the only thing that matters. And so you can use these business intelligence tools to really customize what is important to you, what's important to your customers, and really using that data to build a better business case for why your training programs really should be used. So just final thing, 5 keys to enterprise selling, just to recap it. And this is really positioning your content for your best and largest customers out there and partners. Make it custom and unique for each client or each division or partner. Offer different business models for the various different needs that people have. Everybody's looking for it in a different way. Build field champions with those early pilots and proof of concepts. Adapt your delivery mode to get better adoption. You know that it's a learning process. Look at the business intelligence and adapt so that you can really get the adoption you need to survive, and then monitor that intelligence and build a business case that's presentable to your customers and partners. So all in all, build your online content business on the Rockstar Learning Platform. We're here to help you do it. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us. And now we'll open up for questions. Pete and I are, I don't know how much time we have left, but we'll answer any questions that people have.
Thanks, John. We do have one question about those single sign-on integrations that you showed a little bit earlier. Is there a standard API pack for those, or are they created per integration?
Pete, you probably deal the most with single sign-on integrations with clients. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. They are more created per integration because various platforms differ per where you're integrating in. They're in the process of building in an API pack that you'll be able to administer from the back end of the platform yourself. But right now, they're all custom integrations, typically SAML 2.0 integration to whatever HRIS system, EMS system, identity provider that you might be running on your end, even LMS to LMS. So more on a per SSO integration standpoint.